The release of the Quattro, the flying fishbowl shatters expectation, SS does not stand for what you think it does, and the Honda Civic invades America. All that and more on the Drive History podcast as we cover February 27th through March 4th, leap year included.
It's time to cruise the highways and byways of the auto industry's past, present, and future. Join us in exploring the vehicles, people, events, and places that have shaped the way we move. This is the Drive History Podcast.
I think by episode 3, we're official, right?
I think so. Third base.
Ooh. What is that in Radio Land?
I don't know, but welcome back.
Welcome to the Drive History Podcast. I'm Brian Corey, joined as always by Jordan Stead. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing all right, man. Doing all right. This feels right. Number 3, we're getting our stuff together. We're getting our shit together. We're getting our tech together. We didn't get absolutely blasted for the first 2 episodes. So that's always a good sign.
That's a plus. In fact, I think we got some okay feedback. I think that there's going to be a lot of evolution of this, hopefully. Or it's just perfect, and then we're just going to let it go.
True. And the only people that can tell us if it's not perfect is you. So hit us up if you're hearing this and you hate this, or you want something new, or you don't like the way it's structured, or you want to add something to it. We're all ears. Tell us what you think is cool.
Yeah, send us some questions. All the social media stuff is in the description of the podcast. Please hit us up. This week, we are running down February 27th through March 4th. I hope you're ready for a very wild ride.
Let's do it.
All right, we're kicking it off way back in 1861. February 27th, 1861, the co-founder of General Motors, Josiah Dort, is born. This guy built horse carts and buggies in Flint, Michigan, and was eventually approached by William Crapo Durant.
Crapo?
That was his middle name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty classic for the late 1800s.
Guess so.
But he was essentially a financier of General Motors, which came about in about 1908, 1909. And he kind of just disappears from the picture after that. But, General Motors has long been one of the biggest automakers in the world. Recently, I think, overtaken by Toyota Group and Volkswagen Group, but I'm not sure who the biggest is anymore.
Volkswagen owns everything, I feel like.
All right. February 27th, 1892, Rudolf Diesel files for a patent for his new engine type. Can you guess what kind of engine that is?
I was going to make a horrible joke, but I feel like I don't need to, because just even that line, it's just kind of a bad joke. That's really bizarre. I didn't realize it was named after someone.
That's the guy.
Huh.
He's kind of an interesting character, too. He mysteriously disappeared off a boat and left like a non-suicide note and a bag of cash for his wife, and was never seen for again until they found his body. Damn. I don't know the whole backstory on that, but that's Diesel.
Okay.
Rolling coal, right?
Rest in peace.
February 27th, 1951, Italian car designer Walter de Silva is born. He started his career at Fiat in 1972. He would go on to lead design at Alfa Romeo, Audi, and Volkswagen Group from 2007 until 2015.
Iconic years there.
Yeah, and this guy put together a pretty good portfolio of cars. Among them, he penned the second generation of the Audi TT, the first generation of the Audi R8.
Oof, yes.
The 2006 Lamborghini Miura concept, which if you've seen is gorgeous. The Lamborghini Egotista? I'm not really sure what that is. And the 2015 Volkswagen Touran.
Touran? Tiguan or Touran?
I wrote Touran.
Nice. Let's go with Touran.
Is that a thing?
It's an unreleased European model. No, I'm gonna guess.
Oh, well, that's probably what it was. It was probably the concept or something.
Maybe, yeah. And if it wasn't, and it was the Tiguan, then cool, he designed a crossover. But wow, that's a pretty impressive run there. I mean, first gen Audi R8, that's like god tier good.
I feel like I see a few of them driving around town, and every time I just want to follow them.
They're amazing. Yeah, and they've aged basically not a day. They look incredible. And gated 6-speed V8 manual.
Can you still get that?
Yeah. Well, no, not anymore with the new ones, but like you can swap them.
Oh.
But
so let me spend 150 grand on a car and 50 grand on a gearbox.
Yeah. Well, at the time of this recording, what's interesting is those first gen R8s are like, I think I've seen them for like 60, 70, 80 grand. And then I was watching a YouTube video about a guy who manual swapped it, and he spared no expense, but it was still like considerably less than buying a new R8, obviously. But still, just so cool, such a cool design, such a iconic car.
I think what you're saying too is what's great about them is it's a V10, right?
They had two options. Yeah, I think, I don't know if you can get the V8 anymore. Now it's a V10.
But you get a V10, essentially a supercar,
right,
for under 80 grand.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Give me one. All right, February 27th, 2019, the Polestar 2 debuts. This is kind of interesting, doing a little bit of research. So Polestar can trace its roots back to the early 1990s, when Volvo established a motorsport department known as Flash Engineering. Flash Engineering later became Polestar Racing and Volvo Cars' official racing partner. In 2009, Polestar Racing made a breakthrough when it created a high-performance version of the Volvo C30 hatchback called the Volvo C30 Polestar Concept.
Yes, that's all I have to say.
That's all you need to say. It's a good car.
It is. Very slept on, I feel like. It's one of those if you know, you know type cars, especially now. It's kind of like the used car bargain deal for performance fun hatchback kind of thing.
I mean, they're kind of an iconic design too.
Yeah.
Like in that era of cars, there was not a lot of things that stood out. I feel like that one did.
Yeah. So you see a lot of them around still too.
True.
Yeah.
That's Volvo.
Though the Polestar, I can't remember what the exact badging was. Maybe it's R-Spec, Polspec, or no, Polspec. Polestar R-Spec or something like that is like the kind of the more rare, very like quote unquote hardcore version of it. And people loved them, but they're really hard to find. They're like the sought after holy grail of the C30 world.
I bet I could find one for like $20 on Craigslist.
Probably like 7 owners clout out. Yeah.
Those are the best ones. When people have some rare car that everybody wants and they have no idea. Happens too often. But yeah, so Polestar now is Volvo's electric car division. And I'm starting to see those are around a little more often.
I'm all about it. They're beautiful cars. Also, the Volvo electric wagon that just came out. No, that was VW wagon in Europe. The ID7.
Oh, right.
Today. But it kind of looked Volvo-esque. It had like this very kind of sultry, sleek, sort of curvy look to it. I've always loved the Volvo taillight situations. I've always had cool taillights. But the V60 wagon, so cool. So cool.
The fact that Volvo still makes wagons is everything to me. Thank you for doing that, Volvo. But speaking of Volkswagen and electric cars, Volkswagen owns Scout, which is just starting, and they just broke ground on their factory over on the East Coast somewhere. So I'm pretty excited to see what they come up with. They're supposedly going to release their concept this summer sometime. It's so weird to have this German car brand riff off Scout, which was a American truck brand.
I didn't even think about that. You're right. It's a little bit weird, but
I don't know how they got the rights to that, whatever, but they did it and it's working and they're building that team. I'm just like seeing more and more people on LinkedIn being like, I'm working at Scout.
I know. I have investigated because it seems very cool. And when Rivian was just getting going, that was the same thing. I feel like you kind of started to hear about it, and then this person would get hired there and this person would get hired here, and then they hired this amazing photographer named Ben Moon to shoot all their early press stuff before they even had any cars made. And like the hype train was rolling long before any Rivian vehicles came out. And I kind of am getting that a little bit from the Scout situation.
Yeah, they're hyping it up and they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And Rivian too is about to debut the RT2 or the smaller version.
Yeah, R2T. Yeah, or just the R2, I guess.
Yeah.
All around, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excited for that. We're in a new phase of automobile production. Like it's all these new companies that are coming out. Obviously, they've been around for a few years at this point, but it's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah.
We're mixing stuff up. Okay, moving on to February 28th, 1921. The first Rolls-Royce to be built in the U.S. was completed. I don't know a whole lot about Rolls-Royce in general, but the fact that they moved their production options to stateside. Was probably representative of the times. It was the Roaring '20s. A lot of movie stars and rich people, making money off the stock market and all that. Little post-war boom presented some good opportunity for the RR.
I didn't even know that they were built in the U.S.
I think the production place was in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So
Never been in one. Always wanted to.
a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, never even sat in one
Yeah, same.
ever. I feel like that's the whole thing. You got to put your ass in the seat. It's like the whole thing.
If you're listening to this, please just send us cars. We're pretty much professional press people at this point, so we'll give it a good review.
Episode 3, we're an hour and a half in. You have to send us a $500,000.
Please.
It's only right. These are the rules. It's 2024.
We're going to rip it. February 28th, 1940, Mario Andretti is born in current-day Croatia. He is a pretty fascinating race car driver. The only person, or one of only 2 drivers to win the Indy 500, Daytona 500, and the Formula One World Championship. The other being Dan Gurney. That's pretty impressive. But I guess if you're going fast, you're going fast. Does it really matter what kind of car you're in?
If you're going fast, you're going fast. Brian Corey, 2024. Love that.
New t-shirt.
Yeah.
He was also the only driver to win United States Driver of the Year in 3 different decades. I mean, 1967, 1978, 1984. That's just pure longevity. That's like nerves of steel, muscles of steel. Driving a race car is not easy. So
30 years of spanning there, too. That's pretty wild.
right. February 28th, 1975, American Motors Corporation introduces the Pacer. It's an interesting little car. It was marketed as the first wide car, but it had 37% glass surface area, which led to the nickname the Flying Fishbowl.
Huh.
I could absolutely see you driving one of these, Jordan, especially because, well, I don't know why, but interesting fact about the car is that the passenger door is wider than the driver's door.
Passenger door is wider than the driver door, as in like it's thicker?
No, like
Or
it's a bigger door,
Oh,
so you
okay.
can get into the back seat.
Oh, okay.
Something.
That makes way more sense. I'm like, why is one door thicker? That doesn't. Okay.
You're doing squats with one leg.
I should probably know this, but was the Pacer and Yugo crossover real, like timeline-wise?
I think the Yugo came out kind of at the end of the Pacer run, like early 80s, I think, and the Pacer was done in 79. Don't quote me on that.
Okay. Here's the reason why I ask is because I'm still waiting in this decade for some company to say, let's make the Yugo of now. I'm not saying let's make a shitty car, but like you look at car prices now, they're unreal. New, used, pre-owned, whatever you want to call it, everything's expensive. Are there really any cars in the $20,000 range anymore? Maybe some base model of something somewhere. But like, why has one company not made a $17,000 economy car? All the thing needs is a really shitty all-wheel drive system and Apple CarPlay, and everybody would buy it.
You're so right. It does blow my mind. Cars are so expensive. Everything's expensive, but cars especially. Yeah. Probably the cost of developing and the computer chips and all the parts and pieces that go into it, airbags.
I guess. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a reason. There's definitely a market for it. We know that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at, historical prices of cars, a new car costs the equivalent in 1955 of about $10,000 to $12,000 in today's money. And I do attribute that to the technology that goes into cars.
For sure.
We're so reliant on the computer systems and like the safety systems. And so I guess that has to contribute to the cost of it. But I do think that you can offer a bare bones vehicle that will get you down the road and cost you $15,000.
Yeah.
I mean, China has them. Other countries have these cars.
Yeah.
So why can't we?
Even like fully loaded by 25 or even 30, but just the entry level, at 18,000.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you'd have people lining up out of the door to get those things.
I mean, the Ford Maverick came out a couple of years ago, and it had a starting price of $19,900.
Did it really?
Yeah. And it got 40 miles per gallon and all this. Of course, it was during pandemic times and nobody could get one. And I think now the starting price is about 24, but
And the base model is what? It's a front wheel drive?
front wheel drive.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But okay.
Uh,
Non-hybrid.
originally it was a hybrid front wheel drive base model car.
Okay.
And then now it's like the 2 whatever liter EcoBoost.
Yeah.
And then you can get all-wheel drive. But yeah, it's an interesting little truck. I mean, I think it's totally for the urban campers,
Right.
you know. But you're right. There's not a cheap car anymore. What happened to the Isuzu?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mitsubishi.
You know, I've seen a lot of Mitsubishis around lately.
Those SUVs look pretty good.
Yes. I was like kind of half shopping like we always are, but half shopping for, a boring hybrid crossover. And I got distracted by the Mitsubishi. I just forgot I think it's the Outlander.
Yeah.
Hybrid.
Accurate. Yeah.
Didn't even know it was made. Didn't even know it was a thing. And then, of course, in that typical fashion, I learn about it like on a Monday, and then by Wednesday of that week, I've seen like 8 of them on the road. And they're kind of cool looking.
They're not bad. I think they did a good job, especially the higher trim levels. Like, they look really sharp.
Yeah, and they're hybrids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the fuel efficiency on one of those? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm gonna bet low to mid 30s.
That's fair. God, I'm such a dweeb these days. Like, my first question is, how many miles per gallon does it get?
I'm trying to still get this guy to buy a Corvette. He needs a go fast car. He's been driving too many old slow cars for too long. He needs to feel the heat.
E36, where are you at? Moving on. February 28th, 1989. Ford buys Jaguar. Can't say that. Ford buys Jaguar for $2.5 billion. Ford later purchased Land Rover for $2.7 billion in 2000, and then in 2008 it sold both of them for $1.7 billion, about a third of what they purchased the two for. That was not a good investment.
You know what's wild is being on this show as a host, I'm learning way more than I thought. I had no idea any of this happened.
Yeah. Ford was really in the market of buying everything, trying to build their brand, and it didn't really work out for them. I can't remember. They owned something else, like Rolls Royce or something. I can't remember at some point too. But yeah, when the financial crisis of 2008 hit, they just unloaded everything and came under the Ford One platform, and just it was Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln from there on out. Of course, Mercury left the scene a couple of years later.
And if you're listening and you don't know this, Mr. Brian Corey here was the proud owner of a Mercury Sable wagon for a short period.
9 passenger.
9 passenger.
Wait, yeah, 9 passenger. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, three across, 3 in the back, and 3 in the way back.
I mean, you know what they say: save some ass for the rest of us.
Okay, so it's a leap year. I had to dig a little deep for this one.
Okay.
But February 29th, 1932, race car driver Maston Gregory was born. He became known as the Kansas City Flash. He was successful in quite a few different regards on the track, but his biggest victory came in 1965 when he won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, driving a Ferrari 250 LM.
In style. Very nice.
Yeah. And that was, of course, during all the the beginning of the Ford versus Ferrari era. Ferrari really dominated up until that point, yeah. He's one of only 19 drivers to compete in all 3 races of the Triple Crown of Motorsports, which includes the Indy 500, 24 Hours of Le Mans, and the Monaco Grand Prix. And he won at least one of those. Again, there's just these like really phenomenal race car drivers that you don't hear about too often. Mario Andretti is obviously a name that you probably hear. And there's a lot of talk of him getting into F1 these days as a race owner. We didn't even talk about that. But with Cadillac.
Wow.
Yeah. And they just said they don't think that, right? I'm pretty sure it's Mario Andretti. And they said something to the effect of like, we don't think him being in Formula One will do the sport good.
Okay.
That is insane. And so they denied it.
It's also like kind of sick burn. Like
Right.
It's like a very wide spanning generational burn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Formula One, it's only for 20 people participate. Hey, happy leap year. Moving into March 1st, 1941, Ford built its first GP for the military, later become known as the Jeep. Pretty interesting history there, just with Ford being at the forefront of the Jeep production.
Yeah. Are you a Jeep guy? You into Jeeps?
I can't really say that I am. I appreciate them for what they are, but I don't think I've even driven a Jeep in my entire life.
I don't think I've even sat in a Jeep. I'm like learning all these things about myself and history. I didn't even realize, like, what am I doing in this podcast? Yeah, I'm not really into the Jeep thing, but I feel like the greatest recovery of a vehicle that everyone hated, and now I feel like I see them all the time, is a Jeep Gladiator.
They're everywhere.
Everybody was like hating on them super hard, and then everywhere I go, everyone owns them.
Everybody wants a truck. Everybody wants a Jeep.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's cousin's husband, whatever you call that, worked at a Jeep dealership in like rural Illinois, and he said those things would just fly off.
Not bad. Yeah.
Just unbelievable numbers.
Yeah.
And for crazy money too, like especially in the past few years, just like tens of thousands over asking or MSRP, which the whole pricing model of dealerships, we can get into that someday, but I don't understand it. I understand supply and demand, but come on. Ask $100,000 for a $50,000 car.
Also, I mean, and here's me throwing out just a hot take that's going to make people hate us early on the show. I mean, just like anything, when you're not good at noticing the nuance, like I am with Jeeps, I guess, I look at a Jeep and I go, this looks the same as it did the past 30 years. I'm like, I get that's the point, but at the same time, I'm like, what is the difference between a 2009 Jeep and a 2020 Jeep? I mean, I'm sure there are plenty,
about 6 inches. And
to me, I'm just like, yeah, for real. And to me, I'm just like, I don't know. It just doesn't add up. But then again, I maybe just don't know enough about it.
That's fair. I mean, you're right. It's one of those platforms that has just lasted, and that seems to be, the Chrysler Dodge Jeep way. Right. Build things for as long as possible.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Chrysler 300, by the way.
Devastating. I did drive a few of those, and I actually really enjoyed them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a boat. But the last one, did you see the last one they brought back? They put a big stinking V8 in it. But like the last, and I think they made 300 or something like that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they didn't put the Hellcat V8 in it, though, which they should have.
Yeah.
It was still this, like, big old chunky boy.
Good.
Yeah.
Deserved a good send-off.
And sold out before they announced it, and then it was, all of them were accounted for.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld bought them all. Probably not, but what he might have bought was the 1968 Porsche 914 prototype.
Nice segue. That's actually probably true. So, yeah, you're
right. Introduced on this day in 1968 was the Porsche 914 prototype. I have ridden in... The 914's a little, like, janky car, right? Like, nobody really regarded them as Porsches. Like, little go-kart Porsches, poor man's Porsches back in the day, I think. Now they're just like such a hot commodity, but you get them for like $2,000 to $5,000, like in running condition up until about 10 years ago. And now they are just hot ticket. And a lot of people are doing wide body like kits on them and just like turn them into super performance cars, which is kind of fun because they run the same engines as like the Volkswagen Beetle, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the moral of the story is if a brand like Porsche makes anything, it's eventually going to be worth more than you bought it for.
True.
At least these days.
True.
The Porsche craziness, especially since COVID, has just been totally insane. I mean, who doesn't like Porsche? But at the same time...
Who's their brand manager?
For real. That's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I mean, you do get a lot of, influencer types riding around in Porsches, and I feel like that has a lot to do with people's taste these days. Well, taste preference, I think you could call it.
Yeah, there's also a nuance here that would be interesting to talk about on another episode. But high level, it's Porsche offers such an incredible level of customization for new cars.
True.
And the trims.
True.
That it kind of plays into this exclusivity product, kind of thing that we have in our culture now, where people just pay crazy money because something is slightly different color than this everybody else's thing that's slightly different color. Or like, oh yeah, my seat's got the stitching in it on the left-hand side. It's,
right.
There's a 1 of 4. Right.
Right.
And people will just blindly pay for these things that feel exclusive, but all these brands are just laughing all the
true. It's so
Yeah.
true.
I don't get it really.
It's like the color can alter the price by like massive amounts, like 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a blue Porsche. They want a black Porsche or a white Porsche. So when you order your brand new 911,
I know. One day.
March 1st, 1969, the Subaru FF1, also known as the Subaru 1000, was introduced. In the States, it was known as the Star. This little Subaru was front-wheel drive and had a 60 horsepower, 1000cc engine, essentially.
Wow. I didn't know this was a thing, and I have absolutely nothing to say about it.
But you drive a Subaru.
Unfortunately, right now I do, yeah.
Unfortunately, I drive a Subaru.
I know. It's like just the one thing I said I'd never drive or own, especially living in the Pacific Northwest. We're just walking jokes.
You did it.
Yeah, I know. We fell into the pit. Now we're just trying to get out.
I bought a cool Subaru.
You did.
Not that yours isn't cool.
It's
At least
cool.
it's blue.
And it's a stick.
There you go.
But that's it.
something.
Yeah, that's something. That's true. That is it. It's true. It is something. I'll give myself that.
It'll last you a while.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
March 1st, 1973, the Honda Civic is introduced in America.
God bless.
And I think that the first one that came to America is at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles.
Never been.
It's a gem.
That's what I hear. Let's go on a little field trip.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Also, a car that I've never owned is a Honda.
I've felt the need recently. I was like, in like a 90s, just Civic of some sort. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody else feels that way now too, but I don't know. There's just something about kind of having this like very iconic, even just clapped out shitbox version of one would just be a lot of fun.
Okay, Johnny Honda, calm down. You gonna go hang out in the Jack in the Box parking lot?
Well, and the problem with me is I know that I would buy one and be like, I'm just going to drive it around and not do anything to it. And the next thing I know, I'd be thousands of dollars
Jordan
in modifications.
Stock Honda Civic. Yeah, right.
The only way for me to not modify cars is to buy a car that I don't like enough to then modify.
To invest
like
in.
the Subaru now.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I would have bought the XT, I had the turbo with it, I would have modded the shit out of it by now.
Yeah.
But I intentionally just bought the X. It's just all-wheel drive, cracker box with a stick, and that's it. There's nothing else to it. You can't do anything fun to it aside from slam it on the ground and cut the exhaust off. But I can't be doing that anymore. I'm 35 now. But
You just upset even more people.
I know. I know. I need to get off this. I need to get off this podcast. But I feel the pull of the Civic, of the Honda life. I do feel it.
I can get down. Been watching Super Street a little bit.
Oh.
That Type R build they did was pretty fun.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to drive one of those. It just seems like pinnacle.
March 2nd, 1926, Wolf Barnado becomes chairman of Bentley. Wolf was a race car driver, came from a rich family, and he truly loved Bentleys, is what I understand. And so the company was just going under. He put a bunch of his own money into saving it.
Damn, I love to be in the position where I can just quickly save a flailing luxury car.
Right. March 2nd, 1966, the 1 millionth Ford Mustang is built. Interesting enough, the guy who bought the first Ford Mustang off the line, it wasn't the first Mustang sold, but the first one built, I believe. He got tracked down by Ford because he was never supposed to buy that car. And they said, you give us number 1 back and we'll give you number 1 million. And he agreed to that, and he got to option it any way he wanted. I think it even had a TV in it, like literally in 1966, like had some like weird in-dash, TV that probably got half a channel.
Wow. What was the first year of Mustang?
64. So also crazy. It came out in April 1964. So in 2 years, they built 1 million of these.
Oh, so this dude bought it in
April
probably 64.
Yeah.
And then just 2 years later, he got a new car?
Yeah.
See, that's like less cool to me. because you're like just getting into, I feel like 2 years, what have you done? Put 18,000 miles on it? Things like brand new. And then Ford's like, hey, you want a newer car? You're like, well, I don't know. It's kind of the same car. Like, whatever. It would be rad if it was like somebody now, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And it's like they were trading in their thing they bought 30 years ago that was beat to shit or whatever and not worth anything.
Well, interesting enough, so the first Mustang actually sold, which is different than the first Mustang built, which is what that guy owns, was bought by a school teacher in Chicago, and she still has that car. And we're coming up on the 60th anniversary, so it'll be interesting to see if they do some sort of celebration with her having still owning the first Mustang ever sold.
That's awesome. I want to see more of that stuff. I feel like I've heard of things like Toyota's giving people new cars at 1 million miles. I think Lexus, and like I just, I've heard like little stories like this, but I don't know, man. If I was in PR at one of these companies, I would be going wild on that.
My father-in-law's Hyundai has 500,000 miles on it. Do you think I'll give him a new car?
Well, we got this platform now.
Hyundai.
We got to spread the word. Got to give him a new, like, one of the new Velosters?
Yeah.
Veloster Ns, maybe?
I think he'd look good in that.
Yeah. Wait, Hyundai Veloster. Yeah. Sometimes these days,
right?
the Kia Hyundai thing, I get carried away and mix it up.
Okay. March 2nd, 1988, Pontiac announces that it's ending production of the Fiero.
Womp womp.
Are you familiar with this little car?
A little bit.
It's like mid-engine, little two-door sports car. Kind of a fascinating little creature of GM.
Mm-hmm.
But
little creature feels like a good way to describe it.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like a gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
March 3rd, 1924, Ford Chicago plant opens. It's the oldest continuously running production plant operated by Ford Motor Company. That's pretty cool. I've driven by it. Moving up to 1949, the Tucker Corporation goes into receivership. This is an interesting story. Everybody knows way more about Tucker than me, but Preston Tucker wanted to build this like amazing post-war car, and he was a executive at a variety of car companies, built race cars, built like tank style vehicles during the war. So he goes and produces this or creates the Tucker 48, which is a highly evolved vehicle for the time. It ran an air-cooled helicopter engine in the back. It had safety glass, seat belts, all these bells and whistles, 3 headlights up front.
Whoa.
But he would sell. It's my understanding that he would sell like luggage and accessories before the cars ever went into production, and so that got him into a little bit of trouble with the Trade Commission, I forget what you call it, FTC or something. So they started investigating him, and they ultimately only built 48 of these cars or 50 of these cars plus one prototype, and then a few more like from leftover parts.
Huh.
And they're like, all of them except 2 still exist, which is crazy. Super collectible. But yeah, he was ultimately found not guilty of everything, and so people think that
Sweet.
the big 3 shut him down. March 3rd, 1972, Sir William Lyons, the founder of Jaguar, retires from his post as chairman. Back to the Jaguar thing. It started as a motorcycle sidecar company.
That I think I did know.
Swallow Sidecars.
No comment.
They had to change their name in World War II because SS.
Sure. That's the only reason. Yes. Yeah. Well, you know what? It paid it forward for him.
Yeah.
It helped him.
It worked out. 1980, March 3rd, 1980, the Audi Quattro debuted at the Geneva Motor Show.
Now we're talking.
This seems up your alley.
Yeah. I just love them. I just love Audis.
All of them.
Kinda. Yeah. Kinda all of them.
Have you owned one yet?
No. And I've thought about it so many times. I've come so close. I can't do it. Audi owners, tell me why I should or should not. Just like hit us up. Let us know why. Here's my thing. This is why I like Audi. This is why I think I like Audi. It's the perfect blend of all the things. It's like the luxurious side of cruising, comfortable. It's the cutting edge of tech. It's kind of like a gentleman's brutality. You have this very like laid back and relaxed, luxurious place to be if you want. Or you have this like fun, turbocharged, peppy, fast, sometimes brutal depending on the model, edge to it,
Sure.
right? Like it
Yeah.
has a motorsports heritage, but it understands that people want to be comfortable and people want
True.
to, have a good sound system and be, have no noise on the freeway, right? They balance the
freeway.
lines. I know, but they like toe all those lines so well. And I'm sure I'm always going to talk about Audis in the show, even though I've never even owned one. But I think that Audi has the most timeless modern car designs.
Totally. The TT still looks good.
I mean,
Came out in 99.
yeah. I mean, pretty much anything in the past, like 25 plus years, and even like back into the 80s here, like we're talking about now, all the designs are so good. Like you'll see a 2008 Audi rolling down the road, and
Brand new.
I can't even tell sometimes. Like, is this a new model? And again, I'm not totally all up in the forums and I don't know everything about Audis, but just from like a layman's perspective, the design language is so well thought out and timeless. That's what I love about them.
Spot on. Spot on. March 4th, 1902. The American Automobile Association is founded. Do you have AAA?
Huh, funny you should mention that. Just got it again last week because of this King Subaru. I was like, I should probably have AAA if I'm going to drive the 20-year-old Subaru. So I got it again.
Worth it. Worth it.
Yeah, we'll see.
But the thing, yeah, I mean, I've had AAA forever, and I've definitely used it over the years, locking my keys in the car, or flat tires and don't have a spare, that kind of thing. But I don't think I've ever, and maybe this is just a testament to my taste in cars, I've never had a breakdown where I needed to
Yeah,
go
I guess I haven't either, just like flat tires and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, let's be real, AAA is the reason why no one knows how to change tires.
True, but they also don't even put spare tires in cars anymore.
True. Yeah.
March 4th, 1932, March 4th, 1932, Ed Big Daddy Roth is born. He's a hot rodding legend, creator of Rat Fink, major contributor to the counterculture of the 1960s. You'd certainly recognize some of his car designs if you spotted them. A lot of fiberglass, big plastic bubbles on top of cars.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Okay, cool.
pretty iconic. And to round out the week, on March 4th, 1966, Studebaker built its very last automobile. We talked about Studebaker a little bit last week, I think. Started as a wagon company in the 1850s. So they made it 110 years or so. That's pretty good. It's a good run.
Yeah, remind me, Studebaker, did they make almost like kit car style stuff in the 60s and 70s?
So I don't really understand. They made the Avant, which was like a sports car, but it became like its own brand after Studebaker closed.
Okay.
But kit cars, not that I'm familiar with.
Okay. We got to look it up.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Well, we mentioned this, dude. There's a Studebaker museum up here. We should try and go to knock on some of these people's doors. I want to see some people's private collections.
Why not? They're all around us. By the way, if you're a private collector and have amazing vehicles that you want to talk about or share with us, hit us up on all the channels.
Please.
Details in the description box. Send us a note. Holler at us. We want to hear your stories. We want to see your pictures. We want to see your cars. We want to hear things. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Till then, drive history every day.